Jude, what do you say? Okay, I guess that's it. All right. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? How was your week? And how's your weekend going? I hope that your weekend is going smoothly. First, I want to congratulate everybody that's on this call that has been with us throughout the journey, beginning of Atomic Habits. The beginning of Kaizen, if we're being honest, right? But today we're reviewing the last chapter of Atomic Habits that we've been in this book for months now, right? And we're the final chapter. So before Rashid, our reviewer for today, takes us through what this last chapter is saying, I just want to like a very quick. I want to breeze through what the book has been about, right? Atomic Habits is a book written by James Clear that is basically just teaching us or telling us or letting us know or making us more aware of the things that we're already aware of. I mean, habits are things that we form daily, consciously or unconsciously. So James Clear just made it clear to us that uh the nitty-gritties of the things that makes a habit, or what are the good side of forming a habit, or what are the negative side of or how do you drop an habit that you don't want you don't want to carry on moving forward. So it taught us that habits are built in bits. They are built in tiny bits. 1% of effort every day or consistently over a period of time would im- make you like a successful person in any habits that you're trying to build, right? It also took us through the law of behavior change. That's the make it easy, make it exciting, make it obvious, and make it satisfying. Uh, in it took us through it took us through what else? Before okay, the cue craving response and reward and a lot of other things like that, basically. So if you read the book from the beginning to the end, by now you should have dropped a lot of your habits or be dropping them and be building new ones, right? And today we'll be reviewing the last chapter, which is the downside of creating good habits, right? And Rashid Oyewole is going to be is our reviewer for this. I'll pass my invisible mic to him. Okay, not too invisible, right? So Rashid, the floor is yours. Please take us through this chapter and we would let's enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lukman. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the organizer, Kaizen
Okay.
Study
I cannot
Reading.
hear you clearly. I don't know if it's just me.
Oh,
Yes, your voice is
sorry.
very low.
Is it better now?
I mean,
Is it better now?
yeah, I think it's better. It is.
Can you hear me? Please confirm you can hear me.
I
It's better now.
can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lukman. Thank you, the Kaizen Reading Group. I mean, it's really a beautiful thing to be here this evening, and it's all thanks to the organizer and well done to the entire team for the job done so far. I mean, Lukman has just given a summary of the entire book, and this is really beautiful. I mean, if you have if you have gone through the book entirely, even though I may not have read through the entire part of the book, but the chapter I've gone through really it's as if the book was written for me. I mean, that particular chapter, it's touched a lot of things in habits that me personally I need to start doing, or things that I need to stop doing, right? So, and that is what we are here to discuss. I believe that when we leave here, one way or the other, we would also leave here with something to go and ponder on when we get to our respective places, and then also myself personally, I believe I will leave here being a better person. Um, yeah, thank you very much once again. I will just go straight to the discussion. Yeah, and thanks also to James Clare. He has put forward a book that really touches quite a lot of art to make us better, really, because if one is reading a book and the chapter of that book is dedicated to the downsides of creating good habits, one would ponder why would having a good habit have a downside? And And like we all know, everything that have pros sometimes would have its cons as well. So yes, like Lukman mentioned earlier, habits are things that we do from time to time, things that we do repeatedly, even without knowing, things that we have done over the time, and we have our mind has subconsciously, consciously, and sometimes unconsciously performed those acts, and it has made it to be so quite automatic in us, such that when we do it, even without us knowing, we see ourselves doing it. And one beautiful thing about it is waking up. I mean, growing up, I always tell people to say that personally, the last time I've had a peace of mind was before I started primary school, which I know applies to every one of us here on the call. So there are some certain habits that growing up we have done on a daily basis. And if you look back and if we reflect as an individual, there are some things that we just sit down in our own and think that, wow, did I really do it? Yeah, but indeed, we've really done it. And one of them, just a few of flashing back now, there was a radio station when I was young. I grew up in Oshogo actually. So there was a radio station that early in the morning, around 6 a.m., you will hear that radio station every morning. So when you wake up in the morning, you would realize that what actually wakes you up is that um, the audio from the radio station, that particular tone, that particular voice of the presenter on the radio. Anytime you listen to it, you'll be like, oh God, they're starting again. Today is another day and we have to go to school. So now looking at the man himself, he is a well-known motivational speaker, Sam Adeyemi. Back then, he used to do a program in Oshogo in Osun State Broadcasting Corporation radio station there. And that informs an habit that every morning we know that at 6 a.m., once you hear the general of that presenter, you know that it's time to go to bedroom to go and take your bath. And we do this, and I know every one of us can relate to one thing or the other that we have done over time, even while growing up. And now that many of us are now in our professional settings, there are many things that we do consciously, subconsciously, and even unconsciously because we have done it over time and it's no longer a work to us again. So these are the things that personally I refer to as habits, and as corroborated by James Clear as well. He has also identified it as things that we do repeatedly, regularly, without even thinking that, oh, I'm doing this thing because we have our mind has learned to perform it automatically. And then if you look at it, then there are habits that they have a positive outcome because you have a positive intent. So these ones are majorly classified as, oh, these are the good habits that, oh, I do. If I do it with good intent, I'm expecting to see a right outcome. And of course, also there are some habits that are not good enough because by way of intent, they are not good intent, and we are not expecting to get a right outcome. So those ones are bad habits. And considering the environment that we all grow up, most of us are judged by our habits, by what we do, and by what we do by what we do from time to time, and at the same time also when we look at what we do from time to time and the little things that it has built up because we do it on a daily basis, we tend to even see reason to criticize ourselves of, oh, this thing I'm doing, is it really right, this thing I'm doing, is it really wrong? But because we have continuously done it over time and we have the intent that this thing we are doing, either consciously or unconsciously, are good, because the society will typically judge us to say, okay, at this, why should we, if these habits are good, why should we stop it? Or not even saying we should stop it, or why should that habit really have a downside? Because one would expect that any good habit typically should never even have a downside. But come to think of it, we then see that if you ponder, just like James Clear have done this in his book, he then have to bring out to say that even though you see that the good habit really has to have its own upside, but indeed he also made us realize that the sky is not all white, right? So there is still some other black dots here and there that you can see to say that, yeah, even though it's a good habit, it has its downsides. Then one would then have to ask ourselves, what could be the downsides of a good habit? But before we go in there, then we should also have to realize that anything that we have done over time and continuously tend to form a certain identity in us, which, whether we like it or not, it forms part of how people would address us, how people will see us, and how people will typically judge us because it forms a particular identity in us. Things that we do on a daily basis, either in our personal life or in our corporate life, that we do from time to time, portray a certain level of identity. If you are a type that you get to work early enough, everybody sees this person as, oh, this person is always punctual. And many a times also there are things that we do personally in our personal life to say, oh, maybe this year I have made a resolution that every morning this year I have to be drinking 2 cups of water, right? It's a good habit that one would think that, okay, yeah, over time, yeah, or every morning before I go to work at all, I must go to gym and do a certain level of physical exercise to ensure that, oh, I'm physically fit. So these things are habits that we do, or even professionally. And as time goes on, people really watch, right? So when people see this thing over time, people begin to attach us, or begin to attach that behavior, or begins to attach that attitude to us and form an identity in us.
Sorry, Mr. Rashid. I think fans sometimes blow towards your end, affecting your.
Okay, it's okay. Let me just turn this off. Just sorry. I had to run on inverter, so I couldn't turn on the. But it's fine. Can you hear me now? It's better. Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for the observation, Kazim. So, and then people then to begin to attach a certain level of identity to us. And like I would know Kazim, for example, I would say, oh, the IT man, because I have known him consistently to be in IT space. And personally, to me also, it's really something that people have identified me as, because even in my current place of work, people say, oh, that insurance guy, go and speak to him in any way you need any advice on this and that. Just is your go-to-go person. But as time goes on, that habit that we see that has created an identity for us sometimes can also impact us negatively in the way we go in our journey. So thinking about this, one would then have to ask ourselves that, yes, we all know what habit is. We know that habit helps us to build our identity. It helps us to build a particular brand that people then attaches us to it to say, okay, this person, if you need this, speak to this person. If you need this, speak to this person. Or think about it, even if I'm a teller, I'm working in the bank, I have done this tailoring job over time. Sometimes I will just post a certain entry and without even thinking about it, that, oh, this is the thing that I'm doing. And even because we would all relate to it that when we start a new job, at times in our first 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, we may be struggling, right? Over time, we then begin to master the activity to say, okay, in the course of my work, I can just go to work without even having to, even if I have things that are bothering me personally, that some people would feel that, oh, this thing is enough to weigh you down personally. You would not get weighed down because you have been doing this thing repeatedly over and over again. And even without thinking about it, you are doing it and you are achieving results. So because we are now achieving results since we have been doing it over time, we tend to get lost in it. We get lost in it because it becomes automatic. We do it consistently, and we feel that, oh, because I've been doing this thing consistently and automatically, we become insensitive to some things. We become insensitive to feedback. Sometimes our colleagues could say, oh, this thing, didn't you see? Did you observe any error? You just flip it off to say, oh, no, it's not a big deal. And of course, sometimes when we are looking at risk per se, something it's more of familiarity. When we get too familiar with a risk, looking at it from a risk perspective, and we get too familiar with some things doesn't seems to be a big deal to us any longer. And I could liken that to a friend of mine. I told her I was driving down to Oshobo, and he told me, how can you drive from Lagos to Oshobo? I was like, "Ah, that's just 3 hours drive from Lagos." It was like he has never done that kind of journey before. He's from Oshobo, but he has never been there before, right? So, and he's based in Lagos. His family is based in Lagos, but he's never been to Oshobo before. They were like, how would you drive to Oshobo 3 hours? Isn't that too far for you? But because I've done this over time, so it's no longer a risk to me. I'm quite familiar with it, and it's really not a big deal. But to him, it's really a big deal. So that is why most of us, things that even affect us, whether in our personal or career life, once we have done it over time, we get so familiar to it such that things that are supposed to be risk that we either need to avoid or mitigate, we begin to overlook it and we no longer consider them as a risk. So it then boils down to the downsides. So, and this is one of the downsides that we have just talked about. We become so insensitive to feedbacks. We become so agile. I mean, so fixative to say that we don't pay attention to little errors that may happen, and those little errors, when they happen over time, begin to make our credibility to be doubted by our superiors, by our friends, and our family. Things that we think we are good at, people begin to question because we don't see a reason to improve, or we don't see a reason to further challenge ourselves to be better. So over time, it then affects our performance because we feel we are too good, or we have been doing this consistently. So any things that we should take as a feedback, or any little errors that we should take as a way to improve ourselves upon, we are not taking it into consideration, and our performance begins to decline over time. And really, there is always a balance, which is also emphasized in this book, to say good enough is just good enough. When you are good at something, you are just good as you are good. The next thing you should also think of is, how can I have more than what I've had? If I have done banking, if I've been in banking environment, I have done a particular role in tailoring or asset management or front operational staff. If I'm fully focused on being a teller or a certain role over a period of time, I can think that, oh, I'm getting more experience over time. But indeed, we are not getting more experience. We are just trying to consolidate on what we have known, which is not even helping us better. So, like this book mentioned, said, James Clear in his book, the good enough is just good enough. Once you feel you are good enough in a certain thing, in a particular field, you should try as much as possible to do something different. Oh, Kazim's an IT man, or maybe he has moved from uh, IT security to IT development, IT project management. So this thing consolidates his knowledge, his understanding, his experience in the world of IT, because IT alone is a big space. And like every other space that exists in our professional career wise, you could see in finance, somebody can say, oh, I'm good at accounts payables. Another person, oh, I'm good at receivables. I'm good at investment. I'm good at funding and different forms of but if you have touched these various sectors, various part of business, you would be able to say that, yeah, indeed, you have a good experience. And indeed, moving beyond forming an habit, then we now talk of mastering an habit. When you have an habit and you have done it over time, because this is what you do on a daily basis, it's also good to challenge yourself deliberately to practice some new things, so that when you master a particular habit, you begin to build on developing a new habit, a new skills. And doing this makes you to keep constantly challenging yourself to be better. And every 1% of improvement you achieve on yourself in the long run sums up to a known result, whereby people would now be saying, oh, these guys have done beautifully well for him or herself. But people will not take into cognizance of the 1% that you are doing every day to ensure that you get better at what you do, and to be able to see one success as the beginner for another challenge that you need to see. So when you see that, oh, I have achieved this today, whatever you have achieved today should be a stepping stone for the next achievement. And you shouldn't rest on your oasis, to ensure that whatever you do, you are constantly challenging yourself. And speaking of this, there is always an idea of career based efforts, which was also highlighted in this book. And the career based effort, in my summary of this, is for you to constantly reflect and review yourself, to do a SWOT of yourself. So when you look at it from time to time, at one point we have some strengths, we have some weaknesses. We identify those weaknesses, you build on it, it becomes a strength over time. Those things that you see as a strength before may no longer be relevant in the next century, or in the next workspace, or in the next career path you may be taking. Even things that were relevant 5 years ago are no longer relevant in today's business or in today's environment. So we need to constantly find a way to improve ourselves on a day-to-day basis. And James Clear also made reference to Los Angeles Lakers, how they had a lot of talent and they are not performing. And then they then have to begin to go and reflect and review, and then subsequently they become better and they are back-to-back champion of the NBA. And this is really so things that we personally in our day-to-day life, we can really reflect on it. You can have a team of professionals that are not performing, and you'll be questioning, why are these people not performing? These guys are top talents hired from top companies in the world. Why are they not performing? But when, as a manager or as a leader, you sit down and you review what went wrong, what you guys did that went wrong in the past year, what you guys did that was right, that was successful in the past year, and the lesson that you learn. Of course, we have to identify. I mean, cultivate the habit of learning from incidents, learning from past incidences, learning from, even if the incident is not a bad incident, if it's just an occurrence that we feel, we should also have to document a learning at every point we have an encounter, such that that learning can form a basis of our improvement subsequently. So this one just highlight that we have to constantly be reflecting on our activities and be reviewing our efforts. What have we done that is not right? What can we do better? What did we learn from things that didn't go right? So with this, it makes us to be a better person as time goes on. And then one particular thing that I would just want to emphasize is an idea of us being identified on a particular habit, because habit is what builds up our identity. So when our identity is built, people know for a particular thing. If we are not careful, we can become trapped in that identity. People begin to see that, oh, if you need this thing, go to this person. So even if there are better opportunities out there, but because you have not portrayed yourself, or people have particularly attached a certain level of identity to you, it actually may defer people from recommending you to a certain level of opportunity, because they feel that, okay, you are only good at this, not sure if you are able to do this. So if people begin to have that kind of mindset towards us, I think this guy is only good at this thing, not sure he can really do this, so let's just keep him there, let him be doing that since he's achieving a result in there. So we should, as much as possible, to diversify our expertise. Things that we feel are not relevant today and yesterday are becoming relevant today, and things that were relevant in the past are no longer relevant now. So we have to constantly improve ourselves. We need to self-reviewing ourselves, reflect on our journey, and find a way to be better as time goes on. So the idea of identity trap, we should try as much as possible to avoid it, because when we get too comfortable in a space, complacency comes in, and when that comes in, you will see that you are leaving a lot of values on the table. And I tell myself that there is no year that I don't go for interview. Not because I'm doing an interview or anything, because I want to leave my job. I'm comfortable. My job is good, fine, good, excellent, right? But sometimes you need to check yourself to see if you are leaving any value on the table. It's not that you are applying for a new thing means that you want to leave where you are, right? It just sometimes means that you want to see what is going on in the market. And you see, you will receive an offer sometimes, you'll be like, I don't need, I just want to, I just did this interview to see if I'm still relevant in the market. And you just get the offer and you just decline it and say, oh, I'm sorry. Of course, the same way an employer, an interviewer can reject you, the same way you should also be able to reject them. So not because you want to leave a particular job, but you do it constantly because you want to see how relevant you are still in the market. You want to see if you are not leaving any value on the table. If I'm in a place and this is what I'm entitled to in this particular place, and I've gone for another set of interviews, oh, really, I could get as much as this. Why am I still staying back here? Except there are something beyond money that is keeping me here where I am. So people should always try to see that we should not get too comfortable. I always tell people, and this is what I've learned from my mentor over time: don't get too comfortable wherever you are. Always try to see if you can negotiate something better for yourself, because really the life is too short to stay too comfortable in a space that you feel that you could easily get something better, right? So that's that. And then lastly, to wrap it up, I will just leave all of us with some certain level of question to ponder on, to see, is there any habit that you currently do that has become so automatic in our life? Are there things that we do to checkmate ourselves, like a performance review, either weekly, monthly, or daily, to see what am I currently doing that I need to improve on? What am I doing that I need to drop, that is not too good enough, that I need to drop? Or we should even ask ourselves, are there some small things, no matter how little, that I can start doing from today, that if I do it consistently over time, it will make me be a better person from where I am currently? And then lastly, we also need to see, which identity do I have currently that I need to drop? Which identity do I have currently that I need to improve or update on, or expand, or even improve, to say that this thing is enough, I need to do better. So we need to ask ourselves some those few questions that I've just highlighted in here. What habits do we really have that has become too automatic for us, that we feel too comfortable doing, and we feel that we have arrived? No, no one has arrived in this life. You can always get better. So what performance metrics do we have to set for ourselves to monitor ourselves, to see that, oh, am I improving? What are we benchmarking ourselves on? What 1% improvement can we be doing from today, 31st of January, to say, oh, effective February 1, I need to start doing this going forward. And this is what I'm expecting as an improvement. And then what identity do we have that people typically know us for that we need to improve effective immediately. And thank you very much. I'm sure that personally, I would, when people start bringing in their opinion, I would also have some few things to jot and go and pound on at my own convenience as well. Thank you very much, and Lukman, thank you.
Rashid, thank you very much. Yeah, I've finished the time. Yeah, this is 7:59.
My apologies.
Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, it was, see, I was just taking it in. Everything is more or less like everything I read, you were just giving me master class on real life experience and, and how it plays out in a real life scenario. It was a beautiful session. Thank you very much for that, Rashid. If there's anybody that has anything to say, I can spare 1 minute. 1 minute. That's too generous because I'm a very nice person. But I can spare 1 minute for anybody that wants to, contribute. If not, we'll wrap up and call it a night. Thank you very much, Rashid, for that beautiful review. Honestly, you said it all. You said it all, and we've heard it all, right? Uh, Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being a part of Kaizen. Thank you all for staying with us throughout this book. Atomic Habits is done and dusted, but I hope that the lessons and the teachings of James Clear from this book stays with us to the rest of the year and beyond. Please don't sleep. Don't let it waste. Right? Just every day, even if it is 1 point, you just take and put it on a sticky note and gum it somewhere in your wardrobe or your wall or your whiteboard in your room that would just that will be resounding for you. Then please let's do that and let's just keep it in our hearts. It's 8 o'clock already, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I'm not mistaken. So I will leave you. So first, Atomic Habit is done, but Kaizen is not done. Right? There's still a lot of books to review, a lot of activities that we have planned coming. So I opened the group earlier this week, and suggestions for book that we'll read came in. Beautiful books. I had about 10 books, or we've read one already, so total of 9 books. Right? I'll create a poll on the group this night, and I really want everybody to vote. Pick a book that you like. Vote for it. If there's any book that you like, campaign for it. Let it win. Sure you get like they did last time. And that's why I win Atomic Habit. Some people campaign for Atomic Habit aggressively. So please feel free, campaign for whatever book you like. If you suggested a book and you know this book is beautiful, you want us to read it. Or if you've read it and you want us to read it again, this is a chance for you to campaign for it and let the book win. Sure you understand. So thank you very much. Stay with us. Invite your friends and family, your enemies. They say they keep your friends close but your enemy closer. Bring your enemies to Kaizen. Let them come and learn. Sure, you get me. So thank you very much for coming, and I hope to see you next week. I hope to see you in the poll, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, Lukman. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.